The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Talk Live Paranormal with Shannon and Bill. I am Mr. Bill. Normally right there I'd have Miss Shannon with me. She'd be jumping right in, saying hello to everybody, but I got some little bit of news. Her daughter's not doing well tonight. She had a couple procedures done, so we're all sending out our best love to Shannon and little Miss Allie out there. Want to make sure she starts feeling better soon. We're all rooting for her and hoping for her. Before we get started on everything, I really want to send this one out. I want to say thank you to all the men and women, once again, who are serving in the armed forces out there, who are protecting our way of life, who are doing what people don't want to do. It takes a special breed to go out there and stand on the front line and protect this great country. And we thank you very much for what you guys do. We know it was one of the hardest times of the year, this last couple of weeks, being Christmas and New Year's and being away from your families during this time. But we're all with you. I am a veteran. I want to say thank you to you guys being out there. Please be safe. Keep your head down. We'll be rooting for you, be watching for you, helping. You guys are the best. You're the strongest nation in the world. You're the strongest armed force. I don't care if you're Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, if you're National Guard, Reservists, whatever. You guys are awesome, and thank you very much for everything you do. Now, like I said, normally Shannon would be jumping in here, but I got a special guest host with me tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. So, Jake, are you there?
I sure am.
Hey, Jake, how's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Good. Jake and I have worked together for almost a year now, and having a blast going all over the country, doing all sorts of things, seeing all sorts of lovely places, trying to not walk into walls. We'll get to that story in a minute. I was hoping Jake had laughed there, but he didn't.
Oh, it'll come.
Oh, I know it will. So here's what's going on. Tonight, I want to start off by promoting a few little things for Ghost Hunts USA. But first, I should say this. Henry, if you're out there and you're listening, thanks for coming back. I know there's some people that normally listen to us live on Facebook. We're having some technical issues, so we're not going to do a Facebook Live tonight. We're just going to be right here on the station. So come on out and listen to us. But Ghost Hunts USA, the year's starting off. It's the 2nd of January today, I think is what it is. And we've got a lot of locations out there on the Ghost Hunts USA website. GhostHuntsUSA.com is the website you want to go to. There are a few that I've never seen on here before. I see we've got the USS Battleship North Carolina, and that's down in North Carolina. But I've also noticed the USS Hornet is now on here out in California. Look, folks, Ghost Hunts USA is everywhere, from New York, West Virginia, California, Kansas, Indiana, Arizona, Montana, Ohio, Florida, Minnesota, Massachusetts, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Texas, Iowa, Kansas. It's all over the United States. Illinois, New York, Gettysburg. Gettysburg. You get a chance to go there, check out the Balladary Inn, because that's where we stayed. That's one of our locations on Ghost Hunts. Go out there and check them out. The owners are awesome. They are some of the best people I think we've ever dealt with. They treated us great. They're just phenomenal. That's just it. It's the easiest way to say it. They are just outright phenomenal. So go ahead and check those guys out and jump in there. If you want to come see us again, jump on GhostHuntsUSA.com. Look at some of the sites. If there's a site you like, or some are close to you, or even close enough where you can get to, come spend the night with us. Spend the night in a dark, hopefully not cold, because Jake, we've been to a few cold places.
Oh, yes.
Come out there and just spend some time with us. Here's the thing, and Jake, I know you'll back me up on this. Check the damn weather before you come. If it's going to be cold, most of these buildings don't have heat. They don't have running water. They don't have bathrooms, and they don't have heat. Especially if they're old like buildings like Edinburgh Manor or the Farrar School. Well, wait, let me take that back. Farrar School has indoor plumbing, so that's always nice. Missouri State Penitentiary, Old Licton County Jail in Ohio, Old Montana State Prison out there in Montana. Y'all, if it's cold, guess what? If it's cold outside, it's probably going to cold inside. Jake, how many times have we seen people wear flip-flops and like leggings?
Oh my gosh.
And
Too many.
They say, oh my God, we're cold. Well, yeah, you're cold. You're going to be freezing here in just a little while. Come on, people. Think about this stuff.
I mean, you got to keep in mind, most of these buildings are concrete or brick. Not super well insulated.
They're not any insulated is the easiest way to say it. Yeah, Jake's right, 100% right. These places are they're old, and they're concrete and steel and brick. That's it, man. So we'll start off this. My guest host tonight is Jake. He's phenomenal at what he does. Working with him is just amazing sometimes to watch. I like to sit back and watch people work and how they do things. Jake, you are awesome. You're really good at what you do.
Oh, please.
Yeah,
making me blush.
I try. Jake and I have been lucky enough, and we can't talk about it much, but there's going to be a documentary coming out, and hopefully we were part of it, and can't go into many details on that because we don't want to spoil anything, but keep an eye out for it. If we get the preview cut or get a teaser cut, we'll get it out there on our website or our Facebook site, Talk Live Paranormal, so people can see it. And then we'll share the hell out of it, of course. But let's see, when's the last time we actually worked together? That was up at Edinburgh, wasn't it? Were you at the last one on Edinburgh?
I was, but we were in two separate parts of the building. You were downstairs, and I was on first floor.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't really interact. Last time I think we really did anything together was Beatty Mansion in St. Joe in October.
That was awesome. Beatty Mansion's got some issues with that building.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually pretty damn cool just to listen to the people's reactions. Number one, listen to how people perceive things, how they look at everything going on, and it's phenomenal. I love watching people that have never done this before. They've never come out and done one of these before. Where you get somebody who goes, "Oh, I'm not sure." We had the one guy there who wasn't feeling well.
Yep.
He was having. and if he's listening, dude, I hope you're feeling better. I think he had like kidney stones or something. He wasn't dealing with them real well. They were hurting him, but he was kind of there for his girlfriend, wasn't he, or his girlfriend's mom or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that he left out of there somewhat of a believer and believing in what happened and kind of looking around going, I don't know about this anymore, but I think they booked another one with us, which is really cool. Yeah, which is really cool. So, let's see. I'm going to jump back to that last Edinburgh one we did.
Yeah.
We had a lot of non-believers. Although a lot of guys that were there were just with their wives because their wives made them come. But the shocking piece was knowing that at the end of it, there was a lot of guys that were looking at their wives going, well, I'm going to this one. They got this place close to us. If you can't make it, I'm going without you anyway. And they were booking new sites. So that was actually pretty cool. So, Jake, we have all this list of questions that I like to ask people that have never been on with us.
Okay.
So I hope you're ready. Hope you're ready for this, because you never know what kind of questions we're going to ask, and you never know what kind of answers we're going to get. So, are you ready?
No, but let's do it anyway.
All right. Out of any place that you've been, and I want you to get rid of in your thoughts the places you've been.
Mm-hmm.
In just the United States. Now, I'm just talking stateside now.
Okay.
What would be like the number one place you'd want to go hunt?
That's a really tough question.
And it's not, like I said, not just Ghost Hunts USA stuff. It's any place in the United States you'd want to go hunt.
I know there's a lot of stuff out west. I want to do Manchester Mystery House.
Ooh!
Or Winchester Mystery House, sorry.
Just watch the doors when you open them. Some of them go straight down.
Yep. Or open into walls.
Isn't that the location where they actually have like emergency spots that you can push a button so you can tell where you're at, because you can get lost really easy in that place?
That I've not heard, but I do know that it's super easy to get lost in, because the whole backstory was that Sarah Winchester married into the Winchester family, and her husband was the heir to the Winchester rifle fortune.
Yep.
And they had, I believe it was a son, and their son died very, very young. He wasn't even a year old. And then shortly after, Sarah Winchester's husband died. And she was talking to a psychic who had said that it was the spirits of the Native Americans that had been killed by the Winchester rifle. And what she needed to do was she needed to find a way to appease them. So she went out to California and bought this farmhouse. And she tore the farmhouse down and then built this huge estate, essentially. And she had one room called the seance room, where she would go in and she would have a seance where the spirits would draw out the blueprints, and then she'd show that to the contractor and say, okay, this is what you need to build. And she slept in a different... There's so many rooms in that house that she slept in a different room every night for the rest of her life. Well,
wasn't it also that she actually, up to the day she died, she was still building?
Yeah, it was building up until the day she died, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot of building going on.
Yes, it is.
So go ahead.
It was like 20 years that it was under construction consistently. Something like that. It was a number of years, maybe not 20, but it was a long time.
That's a lot of going on out there, man. That's a lot of going on. So, okay, that's your stateside one.
Yep.
Now let's open it up to anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
Like, I know mine. Mine's easy. I want to go back and do Auschwitz over in Germany.
I couldn't do concentration camps. When I was over in Europe, I went to a Holocaust museum, and that kind of messed me up a little bit. So I don't think I could do one of those. I think I'd be too emotionally invested. I mean, the first thing that popped in my mind was Dracula's castle.
Which one?
The one he was held in prison in.
Okay, because there's several of them over there.
Yep.
So, like, when Kelly and I were stationed in Germany, so we know the actual Dracula's castle. It's in not Transylvania. Is it in Transylvania?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, but the one that everybody seems associated with is the one that was used in the movie, and that's actually right outside of Schaffenburg, Germany, about 15, 20 kilometers. And Kelly and I have been to that one. And you're looking up at the hill on it, and you can actually, from the perspective we were at, when you stop at the road and you look up at it, you could actually see if you could picture that castle still being there. Now, 90% of it's been demolished or is damaged because of the bombings during
Right.
during the war. But it's still there, and you can go up and walk through it, and it's just old and freaky. And that's the one they used in the old movie, in the original movie. So we've been to that one. We didn't get a chance to cross the border and go over a couple hundred borders, I think it was, over into Transylvania. But yeah, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, there's another one in France, and I've been to this castle, but I've never been there for investigations, and it's in a town called Amboise. And it's a chateau that essentially it sits on a hill right next to the river.
Okay.
And historically, what this castle had was on the lawn or out in front of the castle to kind of ward off the enemies, similar to what Vlad the Impaler did. Is they had impaled bodies on stakes out in front of that castle. There have been a number of hangings that were done on the property there. I mean, it's a few centuries old, so it's seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's been a lot of death on the grounds of that castle, and it's a beautiful, beautiful castle, brick and stone, and looks really nice, really well kept. But I would love to do those two places. I think those would be really cool.
Cool. All right, so now we're going to jump over to a different subject. So you've been with us when we've used different pieces of equipment. Mm-hmm. Everything from the Mel meter to the Phasma box to Spirit box to oh my God, the new one I built, the Pharaoh, to smaller EMF detectors, to dowsing rods, to a little bit of everything. What's your favorite piece of equipment that you like to use? And it doesn't have to be our equipment. It could be anything you have too.
It comes down to two for me. And it kind of just depends on the situation and the place that we're in. Okay. Very first time you and I ever investigated together, you used the Phasma box.
Yeah.
And I love that thing. I know some people kind of might have some issues with it because it does come up with random things, scanning through different frequencies and that kind of stuff. And sometimes you hear commercials or all sorts of different stuff coming in. But we've also got some pretty hairy responses.
Yeah.
And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
On that one.
So real quick, before he talks about his second one, you guys have heard me talk about this before, and talk about one time through the Phasma box, one of the people we were investigating with told a certain spirit that he was impotent. That would be Jake right here on the show with me. And that was something that I would have never have thought to even say. But now that I think about it, that really got a big time response back for us.
It did.
Which was scary in its own right.
Well, the scary part was, I mean, we were getting some stuff coming through in that particular situation, but not a whole lot. And that whole impotent comment started out as just casual conversation. I was talking to the person next to me. I was like, I know this guy's notorious for interacting with females. I'm like, but he hasn't done anything. I'm like, maybe he's just impotent. Nothing happened that time. And then the next group we were with, same situation, not a whole lot going on, not a lot of interactions with the females. So then that was when I publicly was like, you know what, I stand by that statement. I think you're impotent. And then that's when the Phasma box just went nuts.
Oh man, you guys, I wish we would have had a recorder going, because it told you to burn, didn't it?
It did. It told me to burn.
I guess it's the first time for everything. Just burn.
Well, and what really kind of scared me that first time using it was, I think it was the second group we were using it with that night, and I was just looking around at the faces of everyone as we were circled around in that room, and so I wasn't really paying attention to the Phasma box, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I heard something come through, but I wasn't paying close enough attention to really understand it. you looked at me, your eyes got really wide, and you looked at me and you said, "Did that just say Jake?" And I remember I looked at you and I said, "God, I hope not."
But excuse me, it is amazing when you're using a piece of equipment and we haven't really said anybody's name and it starts calling out your name.
Mm-hmm.
Or calling out something else. And well, like, I don't want to give a detail away because I don't know if it'll be heard. I don't know if it was on the video. It'll be there. But you and I were in a situation last weekend where we were just the two of us using the Phasma box, and we heard the lady who was with us. We actually heard it say her name, go back to your friends, and then you and I both heard a scream that sounded. It came across the Phasma box. It sounded like her voice screaming.
Yep.
I mean, to hear that was just was kind of freaky. So, and we took off, and they were relaxed. They were sitting down like nothing's wrong here. So,
well, and then it was freaky too. That same night, there was, because we had our backs to that old ash room that looks like a hallway, and I mean, for the listeners out there, we were at Farrar Elementary down in the boiler room, and we were sitting there, and I looked over my shoulder, and you saw it because you said, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "Someone just came out back there, and they're standing in the doorway right behind us." And then immediately after, it came over the Phasma box and said, "Behind you."
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, so we've talked about your favorite piece of equipment.
Yep.
What's your least favorite piece of equipment?
I have to say the K2s, just because there is a lot that can cause a misinterpretation with the way that those are used.
Yep.
One is being, and I know you've talked about it before, is the sensor is actually on the bottom.
Yep.
Not on that front piece like a lot of people think. So that's one issue. Because if people are holding it with the back where the batteries are facing downward, then essentially it's scanning the floor.
Correct.
And then the other thing with that, and this is just kind of a problem with the nature of electromagnetic fields, is any time there is a charge in a wire, if that charge is moving, it will create an electromagnetic field.
And not just in a wire. You can have water running through a pipe, and it'll cause the electromagnetic field to pick up. Because everything puts off an electric field. Mm-hmm. Everything puts off EMF, electromagnetic frequencies and fields. We put them off. I've actually seen, and I know some people that can put their hands on either side of that thing and set it off with just their bare hands.
Yep. So
I agree, and what he's talking about, the K2 would be the EMF detector. That's one of the reasons we talk about all the time. We try to teach people when we're there how to use them, how to check a room when you first get there to see, okay, there's a hotspot over here. Why? Oh, look, there's an electrical plug-in over here because there's a piece of equipment plugged in. It's going to go off over here. We need to be going the opposite direction and get away from that. Oh, look, your phone's not on airplane mode. Yep. And you're setting it off. Oh, look, you've got one of the brand new Apple Watches, which will really set it off. Oh, look, you're wearing a Fitbit. Guess what? Fitbits will set them off. You got to be close to it, but Fitbits will still set them off. So if you're holding it in your hand, make sure you don't have it in the hand with the Fitbit. But remember, our bodies conduct electricity too, so there's a possible chance your Fitbit can be on the other arm and it can still be picking it up through you because you're the one holding it. Yep. So, yeah, I agree. There are some there are some challenges to that, and that's one of the things that we try to educate people on when we go on hunts. That hey, this might do this because of this. Now we're not saying they don't work,
right?
I mean, we've seen some really weird shit happen.
I had some at Edinburgh. I had them laying on the ground like what you guys did at Nopaming and tried to have a race just like you guys did. Didn't work. But what did happen was I actually saw the spirit doing this. Is it was almost like he was playing leapfrog, and he was leaping from one detector to the next up and down the hall, and you'd see him go off as he was leaping from one to the next.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, you can get some cool stuff with them, but if you don't know how to use them, or you're with people that don't know how to use them, there's a lot of false positives that can come with them, and that's when debunking is an important part.
And 90% of what we do is debunking.
Yep.
We do. If we go into a private home and we're there looking for stuff, people are like, "Oh, I feel weird when I stand right here. Wait, right by this wall? Yeah, I feel tingly and stuff. Well, let's check it out. Oh, look, on the other side of it's a big power box. Well, yes, some people are more sensitive to that electromagnetic field that's around that electrical box. Or you get some people that just, I feel cold when I stand in this spot. Well, you're standing right next to a cold air return on a register for a vent. Yeah, you're going to feel cold there because it's sucking the cold air out of the room.
Yep.
So that's why, you hear bangs and pops. First thing I'm going to try to do is go, okay, there was a bang. First of all, I'm going to jump, maybe scream a little. Might tinkle just a little bit. But then I'm going to look around and go, okay, shake a door, shake a window, shake, is this going to move? If I can't find out what made that noise, I'm going to ask him to do it again.
Yep.
And if it happens again, then we all kind of take a deep breath and we keep moving forward from there. So, all right, see, what's my next question? I'm trying to do these from memory because I don't have the list. Let's see, we talked about your locations, talked about your equipment. Okay, let me just do this. What's a specialty of yours? What do you consider yourself? I know some people say they're sensitive, they're mediums.
I had a feeling this was coming up.
Now, I don't want you to go too deep into it if you don't want to, but I do know one thing you do, and you do very well, because I've seen the reaction afterwards and the lasting results of what you do. Y'all, I'm going to let you know, Jake's kind of my mentor right now. I've gotten into, just literally started in the last 2 weeks, using tarot cards. And Jake is kind of the person, he is right now the person I go to when I have questions or I don't understand something. So I know you're phenomenal with them. And I applaud you for that. That is amazing to watch you, especially when you do the one card draws with people just here, draw a card, and they're not expecting it like you did last weekend. Draw a card. And then you read that card and the people are looking at you like, he just said my life story and kind of what I'm going through right now, and what I'm kind of think is going to happen, and that just their face, just to watch them is great.
Or when they scooch away from me on the couch,
trying to climb a wall to get out.
Yeah,
that was funny. Sorry, that was really funny.
I shut up, dogs. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I wasn't even thinking that. I guess that's one thing. I am so sorry about my dogs.
Nah, it's all right. We've had them on here before. They just want to be part of the show. It's all right. See, I told you.
And the other thing I was going to say is, because I've talked to a couple different people who identify themselves as different types of mediums.
Yep.
There's physical, there's spiritual, there's psychic, all sorts of different types of mediums, and I've talked to a couple of them that identify as different types, and they've both told me that they see that gift in me as well. Now, I have a hard time identifying with that, just because, in my mind, you think about that TV show back when it was on air, that show called Medium. And so there's this idea of what they can and can't do, And I fall into that trap too, where I look at it and I go, I don't think so, because they can do this, this, and this, and I can't do any of those things.
Well, and that was one of the hardest things is when that show came on, and now there's so many of them on, that everybody thinks that's the only thing, that's exactly how all mediums are, is what that is. And I've asked that question several times, especially when we're on big hunts or we're with a lot of people who are mediums and are, renowned mediums, that I'm seeing what you can do, but I can't do that. But then it turns out that, every now and then you kind of go, now wait a minute, what am I seeing? What the hell is that? And they're going, see, you can see things. I'm going, no, but, I'm not getting the things. So what do you consider yourself then?
I don't know. I don't know that at this point, I don't know that I know enough about it to put a label on it. Because I think, like, when I think back to when I was younger, you'll hear a lot of stories where people are like, oh, my parents have home videos or told stories about when I was, like, 2 years old and I'd point in the corner and say, Mommy, who's that? Or whatever. And I've never been told that I ever did that. I don't have any memories of doing things like that when I was that young.
Mm-hmm.
The memories that I do have started late elementary, early middle school,
Okay.
5th, 6th, or 7th grade. And I was never a huge fan of ghost shows at first.
Okay.
My older brother is 3.5 years older than me, would watch Ghost Hunters.
Oh, okay.
And so then he kind of got me started on that, and so I'd watch that, and then kind of got into that a little bit, and then I started branching off and kind of seeing what other shows were out there, and kind of started watching them off on my own, and there was one, and it was in the UK, and there were a few times that they came to the US, but it was primarily a British TV show, and I remember it was on the Travel Channel, and it was called Most Haunted. And there was they went through a few different mediums on that show, but one of them is... I
think I remember that, actually.
Well, there was one that they did a live episode. It was 7 hours long, and it was at Eastern State. That would have been...
Eastern State Penitentiary. That's in Pennsylvania on Ghost Hunt USA. Go for it.
Yeah, there you go. Shameless plug. That would have been, 2006-ish.
Okay.
When they did that. It's not on anymore. But there was one medium on there for a while. His name was David Wells. He's really, really, really well known throughout the UK. And watching him do some of the stuff on that show, I was like, oh my God. I was like, I would love to be able to do that. And then all of a sudden it started happening. And I was like, take it back. Because the first thing that I really remember was... And it wasn't being able to see them, but it was... the way my bedroom was set up was my bed was in the middle of the room, and my closet was on one side of the room, and then my TV was on the other. So when I'd be sitting on my bed watching TV, my back was to my closet. And there would be times where I would feel someone pulling on the back of my shirt when my back was to my closet. There would be times when I'd wake up and have to pee in the middle of the night, and the bathroom was adjacent to my bedroom. So I'd walk out of my bedroom door, and my bedroom and the bathroom are on the second floor, and the bathroom was right in front of the staircase. And I don't know why I did this, but I did every single time, and I always told myself never to do it. Because I'd look down that staircase, and there'd always be someone standing at the foot of the staircase, and as soon as I'd look, they'd start walking up the stairs. And so I freaked out, went into the bathroom, did what I needed to do, and I was back in my room, threw the covers over my head, and was like, please don't come in my room. And then I started seeing them more frequently, and that's when it started to get kind of scary. There was one time, my brother's bedroom was directly across the hall, so if his bedroom door was open and my bedroom door was open, I could look into his bedroom. And I did that one time, and
Okay.
There was someone sitting on his bed. He was downstairs playing the Xbox or whatever in the basement, and my parents were doing something, I don't know, outside. And I asked, and I was like, well, what are you doing here? Because I was like, there's no reason for you to be in my house, let alone in my brother's room. So I was just like, what are you doing here? Didn't say a word, just looked at me, stood up, and started walking toward me. And I freaked out, because all I could see this thing as was a shadow. But I could tell that it was a male. And so I shut my bedroom door, and I could feel him walk up to the door and just stand there. And so that kind of freaked me out. And then Jennifer and Robert showed up. And they originally showed up in a dream. Where my parents' house was that I grew up, there it wasn't far from the interstate. It was like a block and a half from the interstate. And then on the other side of the interstate, there were some fields, and then there was a little wooded area on the other side of the fields. Well, I had a dream one night, and I recognized the trees from the dream as the wooded area on the other side of the cornfields. And it was summer in the dream, because there was this little girl, probably 7, 8 years old, came out wearing a white dress. And I don't know the technical name for it, but it was almost like a bonnet, but not quite a bonnet. She had something on her head, and it laid flat on the top of her head. And she had blonde hair, a little longer than shoulder length. And I remember she came out of the house. It was an old farmhouse. And she went to go play in these woods. And then I just remember hearing a blood-curdling scream. And from the blood-curdling scream, it was like I was looking at the house, but you saw the colors of the sky change colors, like time rapidly sped up, and now it was like sunset. And so in the summer, you're looking, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night now.
Yeah.
And Farmer came out, was on the front porch, and was calling out the little girl's name, which was Jennifer, and saying that she needed to come in. It was time for dinner. Well, he knew that she liked to play in these woods on their property. So he went out there to go find her, and he found her hanging from a tree branch.
Ugh.
And that was when I woke up. And then a couple years later, I was just sitting there watching TV, and I was 12, early teenager, so I wanted my privacy. I always kept my door closed to my bedroom. And then all of a sudden I felt someone walk into my room. Don't go there, Bill. And
I was
watching TV, and I felt someone walk into my room. And I could see the silhouette of a little girl. And I was like, who are you? And she told me her name was Jennifer, but I didn't hear her per se. But I saw the name Jennifer flash in my head. And that's how they usually communicate with me now, is I see words or they show me pictures. And so then I was like, Jennifer. I was like, why does that name ring a bell? And then all of a sudden I remembered the dream. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, if you're Jennifer, I was like, then where's your dad? As soon as I asked that, this farmer walked into my room.
Really?
And then I started thinking, careful what you wish for. And,
no kidding.
And I asked him, I said, well, what is your name? And in the dream, I never heard the farmer's name. It was never said. And so, again, I just saw the name Robert flash in my head. And so I just went with that. was like, okay. And they stayed in my room all night that night. Kind of watched me sleep, which was a little bit weird, but it was oddly comforting that they were there. And the next morning I asked, I was like, well, Robert, I was like, I know how Jennifer died. It was oddly. I was like, but how did you die? And then he showed me a clip, but he censored it a little bit. He didn't show me all the gore and graphicness to it.
Yeah.
But what it was is he was out in the field farming or plowing. And this is back when they were pulled by horses. And he was leaning over to check and see what was going on behind him, make sure it wasn't getting caught on anything or anything like that. And he fell out. And the horses kept going. And the blade sliced him into pieces.
Wow.
He didn't show me the slicing. He showed me him falling out and then the screaming. And so I put two and two together. I was like, okay. I was like, thanks for not showing the blood and guts and all that kind of stuff. I could have done without seeing that. And then, so to make a long story shorter, essentially what happened was it was the farmer's best friend who had hung his daughter. And I found that out because all three of them were in my room. And it got pretty heated. They were arguing and they were swearing and they were yelling at each other, as is to be expected. But then once I figured that out, a couple hours later, I came back into my room and the three of them were gone. And I haven't seen or heard from either of them since. And then all sorts of stories of being at friends' houses and seeing things. The scariest thing, though, was, I think it was actually a New Year's Eve or a Christmas Eve one year. I was probably 16, and I was watching a TV show, and you know that feeling you get when you can just tell someone's rushing up on you?
Yeah.
And I got that feeling, but it was really, 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 really strong. And it scared me as a 16-year-old so much so that I threw the covers over my head, and my bed was surrounded by seven people all at once. And they were like, it got to the point where a friend of mine had to actually call me to calm me down because I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I was having a panic attack. Just got me calmed down enough. We started talking to them, got their names, and she was actually on the internet looking them up, and she found their records.
Oh, really?
For some of them, not all of them, but she found some of their death certificates, and so that was killer validation for me. And then there was a kid. I say kid, he was probably mid-20s. His name was Robbie. And he followed me around for a few years. And then he was just gone. But then I think he actually was with you guys at Missouri State. When you guys were there in September.
What makes you think that?
Because I sent him there. I just called out to him. I said, I don't know if you can hear me. I was like, I don't even know if you crossed over or not. I said, but if you can hear me, I said, please go to Missouri State. I've got some friends doing some stuff there, and I'm worried about their safety. And I think it was Michelle and Brittany were somewhere. And there was someone else that was down there with them, and they were all linked arms doing something. And the person on the end linked arms with someone because he saw someone there, saw the silhouette of someone there, but when he went to go link arms, there was nothing there. And Brittany and Michelle both said that they got the sense of someone who was there to protect them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild that you can actually go back and do something like that where you you can call on someone who you've been with in the past, and all of a sudden they're there, and you know you can feel them going in and talking to you and be doing things.
I had him come through on a Ouija board, and because essentially what he did is I just woke up one morning and he was gone. He never said anything to me. He never came back. He was just gone. So, and because he had been with me for a few years, we kind of built this companionship or this relationship, and I kind of felt abandoned when he was just gone, because he was there when a lot of the creepy, not so good intended people would come toward me. He was kind of the protector. And so when he was gone, I was like, well, now what do I do? Like, I have to face this all on my own. And he came through on a Ouija board one night, and I just asked him, I was like, why did you leave? Like, what was that all about? Like, you didn't say anything to me. You just were gone. And I remember he told me through the Ouija board that it was because I didn't need him anymore.
Wonder why that is.
I don't know. Maybe I got to a point where I was able to handle whatever was going to come to me. I don't know.
I'm wondering if it's, not just handle what was going to come to you, but he knew that you were going to be safe. Mm-hmm. That it's not that you could handle it; it's just he knew that you would be safe in what was going to come to you, and that mentally you were strong enough to deal with it now.
Right.
That was amazing.
And then, so shortly after he left, I kind of, I don't know if shut down is the right word, but I stopped seeing things. They stopped coming to me. That kind of stuff for a few years. And so I just kind of thought, and that's when I started getting into the high school science classes and college and pursuing science in college and that kind of stuff. So I kind of just thought, oh, maybe it was just my mind, trying to find ways to cope with things that were going on in my life. And so I didn't think much of it. And then I started seeing them a little bit more. And then I met up with you guys, and then that was like the floodgates were just blown wide open again.
Well, do you think it was the reason it seems like the floodgates were blown open is because you were around like Michelle and Kelly, where they're already dealing with it, and it allowed it to start coming to you more freely?
I think that's part of it. I also think I kind of just got to the point where I stopped trying to rationalize things so much.
True.
And I mean, I'm always going to look at things and go, how could I explain that? But I feel like I just kind of accepted that was a possible explanation, and as a result, I think they just, that opened me back up, and they started coming toward me more. Now the weird thing is, Nathan is starting to see them more often now at home.
So do you believe that he has some ability too?
He's empathic.
Okay.
And I've known that since I met him. And he even told me, like, because I've told him stories from coming from ghost hunts and those kinds of things. Oh, and be like, oh, I saw this person, and they told me this. And he goes, now see, I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can see them. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it just happens.
See, that's the part that sometimes gets me is, you guys, I see that person standing over there, and, and maybe I, like the lady said last week, there's a mental block in there for me. There's something that's a block that's stopping it from me allowing it to happen. And, hopefully with her help, either I can unblock it or I can at least break some of the barrier down. I was told that I had to go on this journey that could be not only mentally painful, but could end up being actually physically painful for me. And I don't know if that's the part that's stopping me from it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I guess
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, but there's uncertainty in everything we do each day. No matter, it's uncertainty what's going to happen to you when you get out of bed. And if I can rationalize it that way, I have a feeling that maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to make it through there. Just the whole level of uncertainty piece is not that it bugs me. It's just that I don't know what's going to happen, when it's not going to happen, or even if anything's going to happen. And who's to say that they turn around and, like everybody's been saying, that a lot of stuff happens when I'm around. Maybe I am just that little gateway to allow things to happen. But I'm getting kind of tired of getting scratched, punched, hit, and all sorts of stuff. So
yeah, I could see that. I do know Michelle has said it in the past that when her and I are together, we get a lot of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of, her and I validate each other a lot.
Yeah. And trust me, I've seen that happen with you two. It happen a lot of times. Where
she'll sit there and she'll be saying something, and I go, "Oh, that's just that person over there." And she goes, "You see them too?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Or there's one time we were doing a private, and we were just kind of looking around the house and getting a feel for the layout of the house, because Michelle and I were not there when you and Kelly met with the family.
Yep.
So we were familiarizing ourselves with the layout of the house and where everything was, and we walked into what they use as the master bedroom. And I remember I just stood there, and I said, "I don't know what it is. I just want to stand here and watch people sleep." And then later on, I heard Michelle talking to someone, I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was the family. And I overheard her saying, she goes, "Yeah, you've got a woman that stands in the master bedroom and just watches you and the baby sleep." And I was like, "Are you shitting me?" Because I think I said it out loud, didn't I? When I was like, "I just want to stand here."
Yeah, because you just stood there for a minute, like, "Hey, we're going to go." And you're like, "No, I want to stand here and just watch."
And just watch.
Just watch.
Yeah.
So we've only got about 5 minutes left here. I told you this hour would go quick. We got about 5 minutes left. What's the craziest thing that's happened to you since you've been with us?
Oh, that's a toss-up. It's either the boiler room at Farrar.
Okay.
And I'll come back to why that is, because there's a couple different reasons for that. Or when we were at Edinburgh this last time at the end of November. And I'll start with the Edinburgh, because there were a couple things. The second group we had there that I was with, there was a man standing in the corner, because I told everyone, I said, "I don't know why they're being shy." I said, "But there's one person in each corner of the room." And this is a decent-sized room. And so, since you know that building fairly well, there was that meeting room that we all started in.
Yep.
And then we split up. I went to the opposite end of the building on that first floor. And so it comes to that T intersection.
Yep.
And you can either go left or right. I started with both groups on the left, so it's that bigger room down at the end of that left side of the T intersection.
Yep.
And we were in there. I said, "I don't know why they're just hanging out in the corners." I said, "But there's one person in each corner." And a man goes and there was a guy there that went and stood in one corner, because I said, "There's a woman over there. She's elderly. She was wearing what looked like some sort of hospital gown, or some sort of gown, and she was standing over there." And he's like, "Well, I'm not getting anything." And another woman goes, "Well, what if a woman stood over there? Do you think it could change anything?" I said, "Oh, it's worth a try." So she went over there, and then that's when the older woman looked at me, and she says, "I like her hair." And so I told the woman, I said, "Well, she says she likes your hair." And the woman goes, "Oh, well, thank you." And I said, "Don't freak out." I said, "But you might feel what feels like fingers running through your hair." I said, "Because she's going to start stroking your hair." And the woman goes, "Oh my God." And I said, "What?" And she goes, I just felt fingers go across the back of my neck. Because what she had done is she pulled her hair to be over one shoulder. And so it was like it was starting on one side of her head and then going and following the hair. And then that woman's husband had a thermal imaging camera out. And he told me, and I couldn't see what was on the screen, but he told me, he goes, well, how tall is the woman? I said, she's a little bit taller than your wife. I said, if I may, I said, I'm much better at going over and showing you. And he goes, please do. And so I did, and I put my hand, I said, the top of her head's about right here. And the guy goes, yep. He goes, when you were talking about it, stroking her hair, I saw a mist form, and the top of that mist is right where your hand is. So that was validation. Okay. And then that was also the Tommy thing where he was hopping up and down the hallway, and he had such a bad stutter. I almost cried in front of the group.
Wow.
Hearing him try to talk.
Well, I hate to cut you off, but we got less than a minute left. So I want to thank you, Jake, for being here and stepping in when the last minute and being with me. You're very, very much welcome back. I know you got a busy schedule, but if you can make it back, come on back anytime and be with us. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. I want to thank everybody out there listening, anybody who's listening live with us right now. Again, all the people overseas, you guys come home safe. Please come back to us. Keep your head down, but first get one for each one of us. We got your back. Thank you guys very much for being here. Thanks for talking with us tonight. Thanks for listening. I want to thank Jimmy in the background running the whole show for us, for being our producer out here. Once again, we'll hopefully be back next week with Shannon live with us. Shannon, hope Allie's doing well. Get better. Talk to you guys later, and the only thing we got left to say is, hey, y'all, we'll see you in the dark.